Okay, I just want to welcome you to our panel, United by War, Divided by Peace, Bridging the Expanse. My name is Michael P. I'm the moderator. I'm a senior writer for Friends of Comic-Con. I hope you guys visit the site. I've actually visited the Expanse set, and I attended the International Space Development Conference when Jeff Bezos made the announcement that Amazon was going to pick up the Expanse. And so I was there, and I was very happy to be there, okay?
I'm Chris Blackwood. I am a human-centered designer and system engineer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I started the fan group for Expanse there, and I had the great honor of hosting a bunch of the cast and crew at JPL for the most amazing panel discussion. There is a video of it out there on Michael's YouTube, I believe, and it was just, they were amazing. Additionally, I have the great honor of having worked on missions to Earth, Mars, and the Belt.
That's tough to follow. My name is Matt Freebert. I am a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, active duty. Thank you. I've been active duty for 18 years. By trade, I'm a cyberspace operations officer. I have a master's degree in international relations and another one, because I couldn't stop there, in military operational arts and sciences. I currently work for Defense Information Systems Agency at Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. I'm super happy to be here. I am required to say that all opinions are my own personal opinions, and they do not represent either the United States Air Force, the Department of War, or United States government. That's me.
He didn't mention the fact that he's never, ever seen the aliens at Wright-Patterson. He's never seen those guys. Remember, never seen those.
The truth is out there, guys.
My name is Julius Vladimir Francisco. To make it short, I'm the youngest member. I used to be the youngest member of Ray Bradbury's group. I am no longer. I belong to Group 2.0, HVAC, commercial HVAC by day. I do have a background in business economics and GR, general relativity. And that's what I do on the side to have fun. And obviously panel for different Comic-Cons throughout the planet.
My name is Dr. Benjamin Teitz. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist in Orange County. I am the ship's counselor for the USS Akusa, which is the Orange County chapter of The Fleet, a Star Trek costuming and charity fan group. And I am the co-boss of Nerd Night OC, which I have flyers up here for. Nerd Night is considered like TED Talks, but with beer. So if you like learning sciencey things and enjoying beer, please come check us out. There are Nerd Nights all over the world, but OC is going to be brand new as of August 6th, so please grab a flyer and come on down.
We didn't forget Jordan. You're sitting in the wrong spot. That's what the deal is.
We sat where you put our names.
No, I
followed instructions.
They're always blaming me.
I saw where my name was put.
Okay, so now Jordan. Okay.
Hello, I am the aforementioned Jordan. I also work at JPL, just like Chris, and also like Matt, we should probably give that disclaimer of I'm not speaking on behalf of federal government, blah, 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 blah. I'm here as an Expanse fan, and that's all there is to it.
Can I add something? And anything I say right now is not indicative of the chaebol that I work for. Okay, so.
We're all here as fans. We're all disclaimed. It's great. So, like Chris, I've also been a, you could say traitor, I could say I'm just helping everyone, right? I have worked on missions with Earth and Mars and the outer planets. I have actually held things in my hands that are now on other planets, and I have now talked to spacecraft that are out in deep space going to other planets, and that's an insane thing to say that I can't believe that's my real job. This is my 9th, I think, time at Comic-Con, but this is my first day being a panelist, and that's really fun.
All right, this is what I call housekeeping, where we go to, just try to get everybody level set on the same thing. One of the first things I need to ask you real quick before I go through this, who's read all the books? Okay, who's seen all the shows and read the books? Okay, good, all right. So if we have spoilers, but I'm sorry. It's gonna be live.
You have been warned.
So here's the reading order and the publication.
Welcome to Movie Theater San Diego.
Odyssey on IMAX.
Here are the 6 seasons that are on Amazon right now. Dragon Tooth, that was the
Graphic novel.
graphic novel. Okay, and the game. I think Chris, you played it.
Oh, so good.
How many of you played the Telltale game? We got one person. Okay.
You don't have to be twitchy to play it. It's really good.
Yeah.
And then A Little Death. Has anyone read that besides me? Wes wrote that with Andy Diggle.
Shipping soon.
They haven't shipped yet?
The individual copies are in stores, but if you went through the Kickstarter, you'll get yours soon. They're shipping soon.
It's a
Graphic novel.
graphic novel, yeah. Uh-huh.
So there are also action figures. If you go on the show floor, you can see them. These are the production models. They are late, but they are beautiful. So go look at the Nacelle Toys booth. You can pre-order them. If you kickstarted them, they're coming. They just told me today they're coming.
We want to do a public service message. You know, we want to use the platform for some good.
Well, a lot of animal shelters are on the red right now. So this is one from rural Ohio. And yeah, you just help them out if you can.
And second public service announcement, there is a wonderful group holding STEM mixers and meetups. There is a STEM room. So here's the information right here. Feel free to take a picture of this slide. They are absolutely delightful, and I'm going to try to go to the STEM mixer, so if you have science or engineering questions, I'll be there to try to answer them, and so will a lot of people who are much smarter than me.
Did everybody realize that there are Expanse trading cards now? And in fact, they just sold them. They were exclusive to this convention. And I think the guy swore to me they have maybe a few left there, so if you're interested, you know, they're still down there. And they've been signed, I think they've been signed by Stephen and Dominique. You know, Stephen Strait, who plays Holden, and Dominique Tipper, who plays Naomi. Okay, Karl von Clausewitz famously wrote, war is a mere continuation of policy by other means. And we're going to discuss whether that's true or false. And this is something to remember as we talk about war and peace in the Expanse universe. If everybody remembers, he was the XO of the ship, and before Poland was made the XO, and he was the one playing in the dirt. He kind of went crazy. And you know, the great thing about the series is he has such great actors on such small roles, and his role is so pivotal. You know, when he lost himself in this one, and he had one of the great lines. You know, it's like, you know what I just can't figure out? We make it all this way, so far out into the darkness. Why couldn't we have brought more light? Which is really a good line. And so now we have the factions.
It's interesting when you talk about what these factions represent and kind of where they fall in the kind of spectrum of things. But with Earth, the issue with Earth is that they're the hegemon of the solar system essentially. What their aim is to ensure that stability and the status quo is maintained in the shared power system. International relations, we talk about how the states, the various countries that are out there, it's anarchy. It's a zero-sum game of power, and Earth's goal is to hold on to that power as the homeland for humanity that's out there in the system. Whereas Mars is that revisionist power. They're the new kids on the block. They're the ones that are vying for power, vying for their piece, their kind of faction in the solar system. And then I'd probably, and as a militaristic society, they're kind of like, ancient Sparta back in the day. They're very much driven by that nationalistic identity. That's really their one of their main centers of gravities. Along with their military might. They have the smaller but more technologically advanced force. So when we talk about the security dilemma of why these two main factions are constantly in conflict, it's essentially is because every time that Earth makes a move that is to them defensive in nature, think about that opposing side, which is Mars there. They're seeing that as encroachment. They're seeing it as an offensive action. So conflict in this case is almost inevitable, because what Mars will do next is they respond in kind. They create their own defensive barrier, their own defensive force. But then again, Earth sees that as an escalation as we get closer and closer to brinkmanship. So the question that I keep thinking about, was war actually inevitable between these two factions? And then you have the emerging force. You have the Belters that come up. They're trying to figure out, they're very much factionalized, they're very much trying to figure out where their piece is. and neither Earth nor Mars really give any credence to this new political power that's emerging. So really interesting dynamics there. So I want you to think about, was all this conflict actually inevitable, as we kind of talk this evening?
Chris is going to talk about it from the science, perspective, because science usually advances a huge amount during war because, someone is kind of trying to kill someone in a better fashion or something. And so they turn to the scientists to create a lot of different things. And so, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, necessity is the mother of invention, isn't it? I actually made a list for us of things that we here on Earth, in our current time, not 300 years from now, have invented because of, or during, or to serve war. The internet, radar, the microwave oven, GPS, invented by JPLers, synthetic rubber, freeze-dried foods came about because of war. The EpiPen, which I carry one, so thank you very much, war. Something good had to come out of it. Duct tape, super glue, canned food, invented because of Napoleon in 1810, who needed to feed his troops. Bug spray and Bluetooth, right? All of these things came about because of war. So while I hate war and everything about it, I can't deny that war can be very beneficial in the long run, right? And so if you think about some of the things that were invented to serve war in the Expanse universe, 300 years from now, will we have stealth technology? Will we have genetically engineered humans, super soldiers? Will we have powered armor suits? Will we have orbital platforms? Maybe so. All of these things in the Expanse are invented to serve war and to make war.
To put it bluntly, people don't like war when, no matter if they're on a side that was attacked or is the aggressor or whatever, the ordinary people don't like that we have to be involved in that. However, when it comes to the way that individuals of the different societies view the war, it all comes down to what Holden says in Babel and Ashes is the stories. So in The Expanse, in that book, in Babel and Ashes, Holden is talking about that, Earth tells stories about Mars and the Belt. And that basically dictates how they approach any interaction, which kind of goes with what Matt was saying about the international relations. And so every different group of people has different stories that they tell about what does war mean, when is war okay, when is war not okay, things like that, and how they view the consequences of war and the cost of war. Suffice to say that the costs of war are great, no matter what side you're on. But the meaning that cost holds for that society is going to differ pretty drastically. And we see that throughout all of human history when we study various different conflicts throughout our own history, not just international, but even internal wars and civil wars. Those narratives kind of dictate how the society adapts to that reality.
Yeah,
trauma sucks. But
0 out of 10 do not recommend.
Yes. However, it is impacted also by those stories. So soldiers, and I am not a veteran, I do not work with veterans, but a couple of my colleagues, including one who's in the audience, is a veteran and has worked with veterans, can tell you that when working with veterans, when trying to help process traumas, it comes down to meaning. It comes down to the stories that they're telling about themselves and what they went through. And so I like to look at individuals and moral injury, yes, thank you. So they don't want to see themselves as bad, but they have to do bad things. And so that also goes not just to the soldiers, but the governments that are directing the soldiers and the civilians that support the soldiers in various indirect ways. So I do therapy with people involved in the justice system, I have done therapy with offenders and criminals, and those stories come up also there is to fit a need, right? People engage in any behavior, and war is behavior just on a really, really big scale to fill some kind of need. And so if we can understand that, we can try to work with that story and try to figure out where we go from here. How can we come back to who we thought we were, the ideals that we want to live by, the values that we hold dear, and hopefully then work better with other people whose stories are different, and hopefully have peace. That's are still a ways away, unfortunately. Humans are working on it. Give us time.
Julius, can you just give us the working man's view of it, and then Jordan, if you could finish up with a scientific view after Julius finishes, please.
Working man's view of?
Just war, just the cannon fodder. How we feel about it.
What is it good for?
I don't think I'm uniquely qualified to talk about that, other than my forefathers, fought in, during World War II in the Hook Insurgency. And in fact, I'm a direct descendant of one of the people who declared for the revolution of the Philippines against Spain. It was actually my ancestral home where we tore the Spanish ship papers to signal the beginning of the Philippine Revolution. I'm a direct descendant of Vicente Samson, which was a Katipunero. They thought about it just day for day. Like, they didn't, reading some of his, writings and journals, there was no tomorrow. Like, you think about it in small unit tactics. You think about it in, like, the resources that you would have within your basic unit, maybe your platoon. And then, interspersed with that would be the quotidian acts that you do with your family. You have to get in some love in there, some emotional support to just keep on going, keep on fighting, right? Because low morale is what destroys, mainline forces. Speaking of which, because we're supposed to give, prizes away, right?
We're not there yet. Jordan gets to talk first.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then we can do the prizes.
I want a prize.
We are doing prizes. Okay. No, Jordan, you can't have a prize.
That's fair. Okay. So I think I'll continue on, build upon what Chris was saying. Chris was saying so well. Technology is neutral, right? Technology does not actively hate or love or anything like that. Technology just exists, and it's a tool that we can use as we deem. And human beings are complex, and so we use them in very complex ways. And so when Chris is talking about how, we invented GPS and the internet as part of the military, yeah, we super did, right? And everything has multiple purposes. You can get that, they created GPS because the military wanted to have better tracking and communications of where soldiers were on the ground and figure out how to figure out where everyone else is and things like that, right? Well, guess what? I also get super lost trying to drive to where my parking spot is here, trying to get to the convention center. And so when they opened that up to everyone else, we can use it for everything else. I think the thing that's interesting about that to me is that there's nothing technical and engineering-wise that is unique about war in terms of developing these technologies, right? There's no reason that we technologically couldn't have invented ARPANET and things like that for other purposes because NASA invested in it, or the National Science Foundation invested in it, or some billionaire with a lot of money and a lot of interest invested in it, right? The thing that makes a lot of things happen behind war that don't happen in other circumstances are going to be more of the softer things around it. It's going to be finances, it's going to be the political will and consistency and intensity of continuing to invest in something for a long period of time and very intently. You'll find this in other situations where, like the Apollo program, that was a very intense, very consistent, politically motivated, and we developed a lot of really cool things that you normally don't develop outside of it. And we spent like a war's amount of money on it. Now you see we don't spend a war's amount of money on it, and that's what happens, right? So I don't know if from a technological perspective, it's unique to war. I think it brings a lot out of us. It's a catalyst, it's an accelerant. It just makes everything plus, 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 plus.
It's how we achieve our goals, it's how we meet our needs. So all sources of, all technological innovation is we need to do something, right? You said the need of the GPS to be able to keep track of people. If we felt that need strongly enough in the civilian side, we probably could have developed it in the civilian side too. It's just in that moment, I guess, the need was felt greater in the war side.
Necessity is mother of invention. The other thing that you'll add is that the willingness of people to use a technology that may have greater negative consequences and major side effects. When you're feeling desperate and you're feeling life or death, you're more willing to take on risks you wouldn't be willing to take otherwise. And so I think that's how war really drives technological innovation forward in ways that others can, but also kind of can't.
Some of these things do require a huge financial commitment
Oh my God,
that
so much
commercial
money.
companies aren't willing to make, and that governments, as a general rule, are where you go to have this type of thing done, because they can get they can order the resources. I mean, if they have to do it by statute. Okay, we're going to go back to this whole discussion, but we're going to center discussion about, each faction and the players in each faction, and this, the science there, the psychology there, right? The military mind that's there. They'll be up here on pictures and stuff. But Julius had told me that we need to give away a prize. Okay, so I get to do the first prize because I'm the boss. Okay, so that's the deal. No, but seriously, who's been in a panel that I've done before? Because I may have to disallow you.
I've been at some of your panels.
Okay, so
Yet.
there is a major Hollywood star superhero who appeared in one episode of The Expanse, and he's a major Marvel superhero who will be in Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday. He might have died too.
Straight up Mortal Kombat fatality. Literally.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Who do you think it is? Simu Liu was the lieutenant that went into the when they went into
When they're in the ring space, right? He gets.
yeah. Remember, he got pulled apart because he decided he was on fire and he was a Marine lieutenant, right? So yeah, we'll come up and get your prize.
And for those who couldn't hear, not over the mics, he played Shang-Chi in the Marvel Universe. Yeah. I think Chris said that.
He should have brought his 10 rings with him into the ring.
Nice Jim Starlin era T-shirt, by the way.
There's a lot more than 10
Spectacular.
ring gates, so I don't know if it would have cast it out that way. Yeah.
Well, at least it might have helped. We don't know.
This is the Expanse graphic novel Origins. So that's his prize. You're welcome.
Good job.
Excellent. Okay, let's go. It's time to get serious here. We got Earth. All right, so Matthew, you get to start on the Earth people. We got Esteban Sorrento Gilles. We got Sadovir Ehrenreich, Christian Avasarala, Jules Pierre Mao, Admiral Souther.
First, I talked a little bit about them being the status quo hegemon with they're very much have the industrial base, the large population. They're the largest population in the solar system. So that is not only a positive thing for them, but it is also a negative thing. So we talk about centers of gravity. That's what is the one thing that a society has that in order to function appropriately and keep moving forward, what can they not do without, essentially? And for Earth, it's a positive thing, that large population that they have, but it's also one of the negative things. I think we know that from The Expanse when we see kind of what Marco does, is he uses that against them by throwing those gigantic rocks, essentially, at the population, because that was one of their vulnerabilities there. In The Expanse, when we look for a historical parallel, I look back to 19th century British Empire. Very large, very distributed across the world of the time. You could also probably make a parallel to Rome. One of the issues that they have, though, is overreach, which is another one of those critical vulnerabilities a society has. And we talk from a military perspective, what are the things that in a conflict, in a war, that you target to make sure that the enemy or your opponent is no longer able to function? So think about those things, think about the population, and think about what their vulnerabilities are. So Earth, I think, has a lot of historical parallels with those two factions.
The interesting thing is the perception of Earth, okay? It's still a power, but, Mars is like the superpower, if you will, and Earth is still, the way I like to think of it is Earth is Russia and maybe Mars is America.
I'd say Earth is probably more post-1945 USA, so think Cold War era, and then where Mars is more of your old Soviet Union type conflict.
Okay. Oh, that's all right. I did not see that perspective. Okay.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That's why you learn this stuff.
I wanted to opine a little bit about what Earth is doing to try to get an advantage in the war. And this is crossing the protomolecule with humans to try to make super soldiers. And so shameful. In Yaloda. Shame on you. But Caliban is the name of this project, Project Caliban. And this is so interesting because in The Tempest by Shakespeare, Caliban is half monster, half human. And so this is it's a big tell about what that project is, right? And we are, in fact, trying and have been trying since the dawn of time to make super soldiers as a species, right? In World War II, they were using amphetamines so that soldiers could fight longer, be more alert, have faster reflexes. In 2023, South China claimed that they had made radiation-resistant human tissue. So what does this mean? Are we making humans who can withstand a nuclear blast? Our military in the US has experimented with transcranial direct current stimulation, which Ben might be able to talk a bit about. But this is literally stimulating through the skull, the brain, and it has some interesting effects that may help us develop super soldiers. And then since 2014, our military has been developing the Tactical Communications and Protective System, TCAPS. Do you know anything about that, Matt?
That
He's
you're
ignoring
allowed
me.
to say?
Yeah, that you're allowed to say. So he may be able to talk about that. But pretty much every government on Earth is attempting to create super soldiers. And on the one side, this means that our brave men and women in the military may survive the conflicts that they're sent into, and that's a great thing. But on the other side, where does that end? That constant technological, literal arms race for the stronger arms, right?
If I could add to that. A really, really interesting point there. I think about we talked a lot about the positives of that technology. When you think about the protomolecule from the Expanse, the ring gates, that is technology that was the modern day gold rush of the time. And when you have nations, any kind of nation state, for us, this for the Expanse, it's planets trying to get there first so that another faction does not one-up them. So when you add friction to a giant, large system like that, conflict is almost inevitable. And all we have to do is look back to our own human history to see what's next. All of those rivalries that were between Mars, the Belt, the Free Nation, all of that was brought forward into this new ring space. So we brought all of our own human baggage to a new space without really looking at some of the underlying systemic problems and, as we know from the show and probably the books too, the existential threats, the crises that existed that were out there before trying to fix those things. So absolute great point.
The thing about the protomolecule is, it's absolutely indifferent. And so who was saying that talking about technology just being technology? And so that's all it is essentially technology. And we were, perverting it to what we wanted it to be. And so, it could be something quite evil and quite bad, and then, or else it could be something wonderful that opened up, literally the universe to us. And so, it has to do with humanity. It's the basic nature. It goes back to what, the lieutenant, the XO said. It's like, why we came so far? Why couldn't we have brought some light? And it's like, we kind of didn't. And you see all that conflict that's out there. It's not caused by anything alien. It's all humanity, and we've brought it with us out there. And so I can tell that both Jordan and Dr. Tates want to say something. You guys go ahead. Jordan.
So there's a great book by an author named Becky Chambers called To Be Taught If Fortunate. We're talking about the idea of changing who we are as human beings to be more radiation resistant and things like that. She was talking about this concept in this fiction novel about somoforming. It's instead of trying to adapt the environment for humans to survive, and let's adapt the humans to the environment. And in this context, it was about exploration. It was, we're going to an environment that's dangerous for humans in this way, so we're going to slightly alter our DNA to survive it in this way. And it was for exploration. You get other situations where it's not for exploration. Technology is neutral. Technology is all about how we use it, and oftentimes it's easy to fall into war, but that's not always the way you have to go about something. And I'll pause there. It's by an author named Becky Chambers. The book is called To Be Taught If Fortunate.
You brought up about the protomolecule and like the conflicts that happened there, but it wasn't caused by the protomolecule. It reminded me of something that when they were in the slow zone, basically that came up, is that humans are making these ideas about things based off of our reactions to what happens. We're like monkeys poking sticks into a microwave. And so the humans played with the molecule and we got hurt, and so we basically said to ourselves, oh, it attacked us, it killed us. But those words have a specific meaning. To say something killed implies some kind of volition. The protomolecule did not do that on its own volition. It did it on its own programming that was just kind of, it's almost like an instinct. And humans have the unfortunate habit of making a lot of distorted thinking patterns about the world around us and about other people and about other things, especially when we get hurt. You've probably all heard the phrase that hurt people, and basically that is the most truism that I've ever trued, which is humans get hurt and we tell ourselves that because we got hurt, we're allowed to do something in return. And that's kind of what happened with the Expanse. They're in the slow zone and they say, oh, well, we got hurt, so we have to destroy the ring gates. We must destroy this technology that we don't even know what the hell it is. It all comes down to those stories and the justifications that we come to define the world around us.
When you face an uncontrollable technology or an unknown technology, you can either try it anyway, or you can say, I'm not going to risk trying it anyway. And they disagreed, and they disagreed explosively.
They had that choice, and they're like, let's go, Leroy Jenkins it, and,
Julius, I think you want to give away a prize?
Yeah, I just slight correction earlier because you said Karl von Klaus. It's Karl von Clausewitz, because I don't want to piss off any Germans here. So the tactics in the... I asked this question in another panel. Unfortunately, no one's able to answer it. I hope someone will, because this is a Navy town. This is a military town. The tactics that they have there in the Expanse is relegated to the fact that there's no space magic outside of the protomolecule. Like, so we suffer through gravity, that kind of thing, right? And the tactics is very similar to like boarding ships, like, from the golden age of piracy. So they have to think about clearing rooms, right? What tactics since I do tactics panels throughout other Comic-Cons and also martial arts panels, what tactics do they use, shooting tactics they use, or shooting technology they use when they're clearing rooms that were showcased in the show? So if you know the answer, please raise your hand.
They were slicing pie around corner doors.
And so, exactly, so a name would be? That's good enough.
Do you want to repeat it into the microphone?
So he said CQB, but do a specific type? That's okay. Just come. Yeah, I'll give it to him. They showed center axis relock, Weaver. Yeah, Weaver stance. Yeah, they did. So it's very old school. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad someone finally got the answer.
I think I'll do the crazy thing that I keep doing and reference another science fiction franchise. If any of you watched or read Foundation, one of the central tenets of that is that there are a lot of different levers of power. There is war, there's technology, there's economics, there's religion, there's all these different ways that you can have disagreements and try to work through things. And I've always found that interesting, and I found it very interesting that the Expanse did a good job of showing them all. You have Avasarala with her politics, at the same time that you have Bobby with her military, and then probably going to politics. And I always found that interesting, The Expanse. It showed it all intermingling at the same time.
I'll add one more to that since you're great.
To say that into the mic, the Highlands, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress makes a lot of similar topics, similar references about colonialism and things like that, but I'll give the succinct answer.
Okay. Keep it quick.
Going back to my whole thing about the stories and whatnot is Marcos Henares. He, according to Naomi, he can always win because everything was his idea in the first place. Every time something happens, whether it was good or bad for him, he pretends like it was his idea and it was all part of this big plan. And that way it allows him as an individual to navigate disappointment and frustration and everything. And it is a type of behavior that actually gets exacerbated really because he's very narcissistic and antisocial. But humans do that a lot, is we will change what we actually claim to mean when something doesn't go the way that we want it to.
There's one thing I always like to show this video because it's just a reminder of what the show's all about.
Humanity.
There's our contact information real quick there, okay? And this is called A Dream of Peace. It was, it's an incredible video presentation by Zurich Marziev.
When I was little, I was fascinated by stars. I thought they were magic. When I grew up and I learned the real explanation for the stars, it became even more amazing.
Is it everything you thought it would be?
That way is the unknown. And yeah, there might be scary stuff. There might also be magical things.
Earth, Mars, the belt, the OPA.
Who do we fight for? Mars!
Earth must come first. It's all bullshit. Shouldn't be any teams.
It's a beautiful dream, and I hope I'm around to see it come true. But in this world that we live in order to survive, we have to pick a side.
They see the stars, and they think, mine.
You know, everything going on out there, it's all got to do with her, Julie Mel.
Protomolecule is proof that we're not alone in the universe.
Earth changes everything.
If we master it,
What the hell is that thing?
we can apply it.
We're going on a hunt. If that thing out there really is some sort of human proto-crap hybrid, then
What happened to my team?
we're yesterday's model.
Lids on and button up.
If the protomolecule was here, it could be in 50 other places by now, too.
We're just gonna have to find all of them.
As long as we're living and breathing, there's more we can do. We just have to be strong enough.
The protomolecule has changed everything, except everything it didn't. I don't ever remember a time when Earth, Mars, and the Belt weren't fighting. Sides change sometimes. What we think we're fighting for, who we tell ourselves are the good people. But it just seems we can't ever stop fighting war after war after war. Got it!
If Ganymede really was a test, it's just the beginning.
Nice panel, guys.